Hey folks, I told you that interview was coming, didn't I? So just a little quick note before we begin, the interview we had was great, though it did have some connectivity issues. Not a lot, and it's nobody's fault, these things just happen sometimes. So some bits were edited and pieced together to be a bit more cohesive and less choppy for you guys, but it's not a big deal, just letting you know. If you guys get confused on anything, I'll put it in the description or answer it more directly in the comments below. So without further ado, this is my interview with Oliver Wyman. Enjoy! Hey there everybody, Malik here with another interview for ya. Our guest today is a voice actor you may have heard over the last couple of decades, especially if you're a fan of stuff out of the New York talent pool, like Central Park Media, 4Kids Entertainment, DoArt, etc. He's been in the 2003 Ninja Turtles, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, Viva Pinata, several OVAs, and a part of the Pokemon anime since 2002, I believe. It is a pleasure to get to talk with Mr. Oliver Wyman.
Malik, thank you very much. It's my pleasure as well.
Oh, it's great. It's great to talk to you. It's I'm so excited. Like I already said this before the interview started, but I'm just so excited to get to talk to you about just stuff. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's exciting for me to talk to somebody who enjoys all the stuff I enjoy too.
Yeah, I mean, I love all you guys out there. Like any voice actor that I have either grown up listening to or have heard, like any voice actor, if I get the chance to talk to them and they lower their standards enough to say yes, I will gladly do that.
Hardly lowering standards. I am a Z-list celebrity at best. But I'm very, very grateful. Uh,
uh,
and I think we all are. I think I speak for all the voice actors. Appreciate it so much.
yeah.
One of the things I say about being a voice actor is I do a lot of audiobooks. Work on myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Being an actor is like being a psychic vampire. We feed on applause and adulation, and when you're a voice actor, you work with an engineer and a director, and then you don't hear, until social media, we didn't really know if anybody was paying that much attention.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Now we're in a place where I can just talk to somebody over Discord, and it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say I'm big. As I'm a gamer as well, I'm a big Discord fan.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
I think it's a great, wonderful community, and there's just like any other social media, it's a great way to communities together. So
Oh yeah, definitely. So if it's okay with you, we could we get into the questions that
by
I
all
have for you?
means, by
Awesome.
all means.
It's like so I
Sure.
got questions for you, and I know there's a lot of things that we can talk about. So we are free to do whatever it is, whatever you want to talk about is okay by me. But
Aces.
to get things started, I wanted to ask how you personally got into acting and what some of your inspirations were slash are.
Oh wow, that's a loaded question. I have been an actor semi-professionally since I was 8.
Wow.
My brother is actually he's I'm the lesser of the successful actors in my family. My brother Nick, you may have seen him in some John Hughes movies. He was small part. He's a character actor generally, but film. Uh, he if you remember Planes, Trains, and Automobiles,
I
so
know
he's got a
about it.
scene in the beginning. He's the guy. He's a lawyer that tries to sell Steve Martin a cab for $75.
Wow.
Um, yeah, kind of a jerk. But he's been in all. If you were to look him up on IMDb, you go, oh yeah, that guy. But so Nick was when I was 8 years old. My brother was dating a woman who was a choreographer for a children's theater group called Acting by Children (ABC).
Yeah.
And I did my first play with them when I was 8 years old, and the guy who played the main character in that play was Jason Alexander of Seinfeld.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was young man, 16, full head of hair, leading man. But that was the first play I did. Stayed with them for a while. I started doing commercials. A commercial for AIM. Oh no, there's actually there's a Sunlight Oil commercial that I think.
A Sunlight Oil commercial, you say?
Yeah, Sunlight Oil. It was probably 1980, 1989, so I was about but yeah, that's I don't think they make Sunlight Oil, but I think that commercial is still up on YouTube. Anyway, so I did that for a while, continued performing through high school and college, school. And then when I got in the 20s, I don't remember exactly when, I started doing voiceovers as doing language tapes. So when people would learn to speak English, they would listen to a recording of me and other people saying things like, "Excuse me, is this the soup? Can you tell me how to find it? Thank you very much." And I did, and it was a great job because you didn't really have to act; you just had to speak clearly and enunciate. But I did that for a while. As I was working, the producer that I worked for primarily started doing audiobooks. Started doing short stories with him, and then one day, he came up to me and said, "Hey, how would you like to record Lance Armstrong's autobiography audiobook?" And I thought, "Oh yeah, well, please, yes, thank you very much." Unfortunately, that's out of print now because he turned out to be a liar and a cheat. But that was the first audiobook I did, and I actually won an award for it, which was amazing.
That's crazy.
I guess, yeah. First time I've ever done one of these. Yes, good. And I continued doing language tapes and audiobooks, and one of the language sessions, I was working with a young woman, Veronica Taylor.
Ooh.
And we immediately hit it off. I was like, I asked her, "So do you do any other voiceover work?" I didn't know who she was at the time, and she said, "Actually, I do. I am Ash in Pokemon." And I picked my jaw up off the floor and said, "Please, please, please, can I do this too? There's nothing I'd like to do more in the world than be voicing." And she took me over to 4Kids and introduced me to folks there. And I think the first role I did at 4Kids was in Fighting Foodons.
Fighting Foodons, I remember that.
Which was crazy. We had a lot of fun making that show because it was so insane. If you remember, it was sort of like it was like Pokemon only with cooking.
It's great food with attitude.
Exactly. So I was, I can't remember his name, but I was the bad guy. And probably a bunch of other extraneous voices. But I went from that, and I did Ultimate Muscle.
Ultimate Muscle, that was another favorite of mine.
Ikemon McMad, which was a crazy, crazy role. And then not long after that, 4Kids got Shaman. And they were very excited because it was such a huge anime fan.
Totally.
They were very excited, and they spent a lot. They wanted to make sure they got all the casting right, and they cast me as Morty and Sean Schemmel as two of the best roles in the whole show. Amidamaru and Rio, who he just, and again, Sean is one of my, he's a good friend. I wouldn't say we haven't seen each other in about 10 years, so our good friend Kenny B, but he's a friend and one of the people whose abilities I respect greatly in business. He did such great work in Shaman King as both Amidamaru and Rio, which hit that character correctly. But I know that my work as Morty, for the right voice, and I know that obviously Mata Yamada already had a following, and I think a lot of people weren't happy with the direction we went with Morty. But I had a lot of fun. He was off the wall, and
I keep hearing like so many good things about the 4Kids dub of Shaman King, because I mean I was around the right age when that came out, but I never watched it. But I really did like respect it. I loved the theme song for one, but I really respected like what you guys did. And I saw like 10 years ago there was like Shaman King funny moments, and like half of the things that Sean Schemmel's character said had me just like laughing my head off. And Morty, I do like Morty's voice. That was one thing. I was like, wait a second. When I was looking up stuff that you did, I was like, wait a sec. He was the kid from Shaman King. Oh my god.
No, that was great fun. And yeah, again, Sean just knocked it out of the park with those roles. Rio was hysterical. You know, we'd be doing, I'd be dubbing my lines, and I would hear Sean's recordings, you know, as I'm waiting, you know, for in between.
Yeah.
As I'm waiting to do my line, and I'd have to go wait and give me a minute here, because it's just too funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
I cannot believe that was 16 years ago.
Wow. Really doesn't feel like that. It looks like
no.
It doesn't even look like 2000, like mid 2000s to me sometimes.
No,
it's more recent.
The quality on that show, the animation was, I think, and we had to do. There was some risque stuff in that show. There's one episode where Morty encounters this sort of necromancer, this horrible guy, and I can't remember what the details were, but at some point Morty ended up crucified.
Really?
In the cemetery, yeah. And they had to, and it was on, you know, on a cross and everything. So the people at 4Kids were like, yeah, we got it. That's not. People are not going to be happy with the 13-year-old boy nailed to a graveyard.
I can understand that.
So yeah.
If I was in that position, I'd be like, oh, what did we pick up?
Yeah. So they had to change that, but just that was a great, crazy show. Probably of all of the shows I worked on, that was my.
I definitely got to sit down and watch that show sometime.
Yeah, now I'm thinking I need to do that and sit down with my son and watch.
Yeah, totally. Introduce him to that. So another question I had is, you go under the pseudonym Pete Zarustica in a lot of stuff, and I understand that pseudonyms are used by some voice actors for various reasons. Like, for example, Carter Cathcart has like 3 different pseudonyms, like Jimmy Zoppy, Billy Beach. But is there any interesting story behind the name that you chose?
Well, I'll tell you this, that it comes from a comic book.
Really?
Yes, it is. I used to work in a store in New York City called Forbidden Planet. I have been a comic book and avid read. And in the 80s, there was a comic book called American Flag.
American Flag?
American Flag by Howard Chaykin. One of my favorite books of all time. And the main character was a guy named Reuben Flagg.
Reuben Flagg.
Yeah, he was sort of a secret agent. It's not important, but the thing was he when he went undercover, he used the name Pete Zarustica.
Really?
And as it happens, that was Howard Chaykin's favorite Italian dish, pizza rustica.
Pizza rustica.
Yeah, so pizza rustica comes from pizza with, is it prosciutto? I think it's pizza with prosciutto. That's pizza rustica. So that and I thought, okay, that's clever. You know, no one will know that, it's obscure. But There are other Pete's, there are other people out there. Some journalist, some local paper somewhere. I Googled Pete Zarustica and I was like, wait, I didn't write for a paper in Iowa. Some guy named Pete, who I'm sure is using it as a pseudonym. I don't think there's anybody out there with the last Zarustica, but
I was about to say this, like that's really interesting because I remember when I would like watch the credits and like see all the different names, and I would see Pete Zarustica, and I would say that out loud, and me and my brother would be like, "What pizza? What?"
There you go. You guys didn't miss it.
No,
but it's like I said, comic books. That is one of my great loves. Comic books and superheroes in general.
And I'm sure we'll get into more of that as this interview goes on. And the interesting side note, I interviewed Mr. Stuart Zagnett, the voice of Professor Oak, and he told me about like how he had a pseudonym, Stan Hart, and I wondered where that was from. And he said he got it from a guy who was like one of the head writers at Mad Magazine when he was reading the things as a kid, and his name was Stan Hart, and he was like, that's a pretty interesting name, and my name, Stuart Zagnett, is so like unique and odd that it would be odd to put it in things, so he decided to just go, like, it would be hard to like pronounce and things, so he just decided to use Stan Hart for a lot of things early on.
Yeah,
like, that's interesting.
Didn't know that. I'm trying to think, all these years, I don't know that I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah. and has he always been Professor Oak?
He was the original voice of Professor Oak, like when 4Kids did the show, and then after that, it's been Carter Cathcart ever since like 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking that. Oh gosh, names.
Mike Pollock.
Yeah, I thought it was Mike Pollock, but he's always been the announcer.
Oh no, there's an interesting story about that too. He was the announcer during like 2 seasons of Pokemon Advanced, which is like you were primarily on, but since the first episode, it was Roger Parsons, and then like in season 6 he left, and then when all the voices changed after Pokemon, like after 4Kids lost the thing, they brought him back, and he's still doing it to this day.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know Mike is Eggman.
Yeah, Mike is Eggman.
Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, that's he's one of those guys I've known for a long time. So, Never crossed paths with Stuart. We didn't, we rarely recorded together, unfortunately. The only show that we ever for kids anyway, the only show that we recorded as a group was Teenage Mutant.
The what?
I'm sorry, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ah.
Yeah. So when I did the few characters that I did on that show, I got to work with Wayne Grayson, Mike Zimmer Nicholas, the rest of the Turtles. But that was always a lot of fun. Wayne always kept us correct.
Oh, that's awesome. I wanted to talk about some of going on to like Pokemon stuff. I wanted to talk about some of the early roles that you did in Pokemon, like for example, Drew, Ash's Glalie, and a couple of other things. Like, of course, there's a Pokemon. I really have to bring this up. There's a Pokemon called Zigzagoon. Are you familiar with it?
That was the first Pokemon I ever played.
Really?
Zigzagoon. Oh yeah. That was the very first Pokemon I ever played, and I was playing. Was that second gen?
That's the third gen.
Oh, that's third gen. So that was the first advanced game.
Yeah, that was Ruby and Sapphire.
Okay. So I was playing it at the time, and I was like, oh yeah. So I was so into it.
Really? So you were playing Gen 3 at the same time you were like recording this?
Absolutely. In fact, I have been a Pokemon player since in 1999. I was in the hospital. I got by a car, and someone gave me a Game Boy. The first thing I said was, could you get? And I played through red. No, sorry, played through blue, and then I played through yellow. And I was all over. I was just like, okay, this is my life. All I want to do is play Pokemon. I was, I was laid up for a while, so perfect timing. But oh yeah, I love Pokemon because I love role playing games. I love gaming in general. But the fact that Pokemon is I've always said it's like role playing 101.
Yeah.
Teach kids, you got to have a healer, you got to have somebody do buffs, you got to have DPS, you got to tank. And the fact that it's also like a really complicated game of rock, scissors, paper.
Yeah.
I love that. I am such a hardcore video gamer. Had when the original Genesis,
Genesis, wow.
not the Genesis, the Sega
Mega Drive,
8-bit,
the Master System.
Thank you, Master System.
Yeah.
I remember what they called it. There was a game called Alex Kidd.
Alex Kidd.
and there's a scene at the end of every level. You had to play what they call Shanken, which was rock, scissors, paper. I never understood if that was actually the Japanese game.
Yeah.
Rock, scissors, paper. But that was one of my favorite things, was playing rock, scissors, paper in a video game.
And that's where it stemmed from, I guess.
Yeah, that maybe
got to Pokemon.
But when I got to Pokemon, it's like, oh yeah, more rock, scissors, paper. Oh. But so yeah, I have been I have had every since the mint. Well, I never had an Atari Jaguar, but other than that, I didn't have a 3DO or whatever.
I wouldn't blame you on that either.
But every other system, I have been. I've got a couple of Xboxes and PS4s and Switch, and I even got an old Genesis hooked up so I could play Star Control too.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I wish I could say I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm, as my friends would say, I'm a filthy casual. I don't, I'm not, I'm only level 130 something in Overwatch.
Oh, that's a darn shame.
I know. I play Symmetra a lot. I can't aim as well as everybody else. But
I'd say you're pretty good for what you do right now. See, you're pretty hardcore.
I if I had more time, I think when my son gets older and he has more time to play games, two of us are going to be forced to be reckoned with.
Oh, that's awesome.
Back in the day, and forgive me for tooting my horn like this, but back in the 90s, I actually used to write video game reviews for Cream magazine.
Queen magazine?
Cream, CREEM. It was a rock and roll. Yeah, it was a rock and roll magazine, kind of like Rolling Stone, only a little edgier, a little cooler. And I'm actually wearing a T-shirt. But I was the interactive entertainment editor, which meant I wrote video game and computer game reviews, and that was when Doom first came out. See, so I was crazy about Doom. I wrote all about that. And I had actually have a friend who's got a website called bluesnews.com.
Bluesnews.com?
Yeah, he has been writing about games, mostly computer games, but also video games in general. It's sort of like a blog that he's had since 98? No, definitely earlier than that. I think Doom came out in January of 94?
94. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But that was my love. So we back in the day when he and we used to play a lot of first person. We used to play Doom all the time, and then Quake came out. We were just any opportunity for a LAN party. We put together one of the LAN parties in New York City. Anyway, but my name on Twitter, and my gamer tag for years has been Mr. Coffee. And there were times when, Steve and I, Steve called Blue and I would show up in some Quake game, and people would be like, "Oh, look out! It's Blue and Mr. Coffee." Like that. We had a rep.
It's a gruesome twosome.
Yeah, no, we were a force to be reckoned with, but not so much. Nobody fears me anymore. Sorry to say.
Well, I hope you get back into it, because that sounds like that's awesome. That is really cool to hear.
Well, I one of these days, a gaming rig put together where we're on the Xbox all the time. As soon as I get him a PC put together, we're gonna be
Oh, awesome.
awesome.
I wanted to say, like, going back to the Pokemon roles, like, I freaked out when you did the Zigzagoon thing, because that is a Pokemon me and my brother always go on about. Whenever someone brings up Zigzagoon, for some reason, that is the thing that always sticks in our head, and we just end up losing it every time. We crack ourselves up just going Zigzagoon, Zigzagoon. We're like, that's what it sounds like. My goodness.
It's funny because there's been, you mentioned Glalie, which
I love Glalie.
Glalie. I never, that's one of the lower. There's not a lot of low-voiced Pokemon that I do, but I got the range of Zigzagoon, Glalie, and also Medicham.
Oh, that's the other one. That is the other Pokemon me and my brother always go on about too.
And then Drew, who was he was. As I recall, yeah, he was May's rival, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was May's rival for like context.
And she was also played by. That was also pretty sure that was Veronica Taylor. Yeah, so I got to tease her.
I really did like Drew, and I have to say that the voice you did for Glalie, it really helped. Glalie is one of my favorite Pokemon, and every time I use a Glalie, I just always go Glalie.
Dude, you got it down.
And I'm always hoping. I've been doing it for like years. And I'm always hoping it's like, if Ash's Glalie ever shows up in the anime ever again, I'm hoping that you come back to voice him.
Thank you. I hope that it. What did I do the other day? A couple of months ago, I got to be Lickitung.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Lickitung? Yeah, great. But the thing that the greatest moment for me in Pokemon, I don't know if you know about, I actually got to play. Did you see the episode with the Alolan Pikachus?
Yes, I did.
And he was sort of looked like he was halfway to becoming Raichu. He was Raichu.
He was a shiny Pikachu, Pikachu that are shiny.
That's right. Okay, yeah. I didn't realize. Okay, so I got to play that Pikachu, and I got to fight Ash's Pikachu.
Yeah, that was awesome. When I heard it was so cool, because most Pikachu in the anime usually keep their Japanese voices, and then I was like, when I heard that it was getting English voice, I was like, I wonder what that's gonna sound like. And when I heard it, I was like, this is really cool. Who did this? It sounded like Carter Cathcart, and I was like, it was Pete Zarustica. Oh wow, yeah. That's awesome.
I think Carter and I both,
we can both get up there. We both have the high pitch thing, so.
I think we're often up for a lot of the same roles.
Yeah, I think you remember. I remember you saying that. I think I commented on that when the episode first came out, and I tweeted at you, and you said that. But yeah, it's cool. It's hard sometimes to tell you two apart.
Yeah, no, I wish. And Carter is so heavily in the show. He writes the scripts. So
he writes the scripts. He's been with that show since day one.
Oh yeah.
And I can't believe he's 65 or something, but he's still at it. He's still got the same passion he's clearly got passion for the show. He could have retired a long time ago, but he's still at it, and it's always great to hear him whenever I hear him on the show, it's this is the same guy who's been in all these different things, all these different OVAs, and it's just really great and comforting to just hear him still at it, still doing it,
Yeah. And he's a sweetheart of a guy. He's really one.
I've heard that too. He's a really good music man too, from what I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
The piano and stuff like that. Oh, that's awesome. But I was gonna say, like, one last thing about Zigzagoon in the new. Have you seen Pokemon Sword and Shield? Like the new games coming out.
I know it's coming out. I haven't seen any gameplay video.
I will just say that Zigzagoon actually has some prominence in the upcoming games because,
Oh, really?
yeah, he's actually got. There's a different kind of Zigzagoon. Like, have you seen like the regional variants of Pokemon, like in
Oh,
Alola?
yeah.
Zigzagoon
Absolutely.
has one of them, and
Ah.
it should be interesting. So, fingers crossed. Am I right?
Well, I'm looking for. I I I'm sorry to say I have not played. Um, what is it, Let's Go Pikachu, or what's the Switch Pokemon game?
The new one that came out is the Let's Go games, but I haven't either,
Yeah,
so I won't hold it
because
against
it
you.
was like, oh, that's really it's just the first.
It's the first game again. Like that was my thing because I mean, like I know it's for like a newer audience and a lot of people wanted it, but it's not the same. It's not the same kind of. It's not the same core Pokemon experience. So I didn't have a lot of interest in picking that one up. But
But
Sword
I'm
and
looking.
Shield look really good.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I wanted to ask, like, so you were on Pokemon, like, in the early days, from like 2002 to say 2006, when 4Kids like lost the license and the whole
Yeah.
voice change happened. But then you came back to the series, starting with X and Y, and you had recent prominence in Sun and Moon. Like you said, you were the boss Pikachu, you're Alolan Meowth, you were Gozu, Zeraora, Drampa. How did the return for Pokemon come for you?
Um, I think it's they had when they first when 4 Kids lost the license to Taj.
Uh huh.
Um, they were very clear that they didn't want any of the same voice.
Uh huh.
Totally start over, and I was I remember at the time being very hurt by that. I was for I didn't have I didn't have prominent roles on Pokemon, but you know like I said, my friend Veronica Taylor, they replaced her, and Sarah's great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh
she's at
yeah.
this point been doing it longer than Veronica did, but I was very saddened by the fact that they just they kind of we'd been working on it for years, and they no, no, we don't want these people anymore, and I don't know, and so I at one point they started saying, okay, well, do you want to and audition for Pokemon roles, and I was still so turned off by the way they had sort of shut the door on us
Uh
that
huh.
I said, you know what? No, I'm okay. I don't. I think it was also Taj did not pay as it was,
Uh huh.
and I was insulted. No, but when my friend Tom Whalen started directing, it was at New I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, yeah, I'll come back. I love working with Tom. He's another one of those people who, and he's talking about a talented guy. He does voice work, he's director, uh, writing. He's like myself, a huge fan of comic books. So
Mm-hmm.
we always had lots to talk about. So that's when I came back. Yes, it was probably not that long ago, a few years ago.
Apparently, it says like the first thing that you came back into was a character in an XY movie called Argus Steel. That was like in 2014. That's when that came out.
That's right. So 5 years ago, yeah,
Yeah.
guy who loves chocolate. Um, but yeah, they got the right guy. But yeah, and I do, like I said, I love Pokemon. Very happy to be. I'm real happy to be back in the fold there. I came back for when they brought Master Phoenix back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh yeah.
Back there, and I miss working with this.
I would definitely say that even though the track record is spotty, I would consider you a veteran on Pokemon because, like I said, you've been there since like the early 2000s, and every time like I see like an old name in the credits, like yeah, that's awesome. That's great to see.
Thank you. It is. It's always nice to be back. Every now and then they called me for when they did the Sonic Lego add-on for Lego Adventures. They called me in to reprise the role of Big the Cat, which made me very happy. I know I'm not the person to voice that character, so to bring me back in, that was very special.
I was never sure because when Lego Dimensions came out and I saw that your name was attached to Big the Cat, no one could ever like confirm or deny if that was like archive clips or that was you like coming back. But that's awesome. So it's like you and Mike Pollock have come back to voice characters from Sonic.
Yes,
it's really cool.
I don't know. I don't think they used Jason on that. I don't know why. I assumed he was the voice of Sonic.
Well, that's another sort of kind of like the Pokemon situation in a way, where like in 2010, like they decided to use another studio to record all the voices for Sonic, and it's in LA now, but they couldn't find anybody that was like as good as Mike Pollock for Eggman, so he's still doing it. He's like the only guy from the 4Kids group that is still doing stuff. Aside from you as Big the Cat in that one game, which is also really cool.
Mike enjoys that.
I know. It's so great to continually hear his voice as Eggman, among all the other things that he still does.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask, as we said earlier, that I talked to the original voice of Professor Oak, Stuart Zagnett, last year, and while he voiced a few humans on Pokemon, he never did any Pokemon themselves. Do you have a thought process on like how to go about voicing a creature, a Pokemon? Because I really have to appreciate the voices you do, because even if they say their name, it still sounds like a creature, and it's still really fitting.
Oh, thank you. It's for me, it's the picture. I look at the picture and I imagine I look at Zigzagoon, little Zigzagoon. Also, I tried it like that. Tara Sands was the original Bulbasaur.
Yep, Bulbasaur.
And when I first started to, I was a Pokemon fan already when I was on the show, and when I met Tara, I was like, "Oh, you're Bulbasaur? Let me hear it." So I kept all of those voices in. One of Rachel Willis was Jigglypuff, and the voice that was one of the most amazing voices. I love her choice for the Jigglypuff. I mean, it was I would ask her to do that voice. Give me some Jigglypuff. So I tried to keep it, keep the feeling of the other, how the other voices. But really just end. I could go high, but
my high voice is pretty much, it's gravity. Oh, it's very squeaky.
There's not a whole lot of range in there. My larynx isn't really that shape. Get up there, but I when we would audition for the roles, Zigzagoon came out there like that's the one. And lately, I looked at Glalie and I was like, they were like, he's big, and I said, oh, okay, he's got to have a big, and he's kind of scary looking. So I thought, all right, this guy's got to have some real gravitas.
Oh yeah,
in his voice. Medicham, of course, that was. Oh, okay. So it's a little tiny meditating kung fu. Okay,
Mother-chan,
and they were like, "That's great." Perfect. So I it's really just what I imagined they would, and what what is within my range. But when I growing up, I used to imitate people's voices all the time. I used to Popeye. That was one of my favorite cartoons.
Ooh, I can definitely hear the Popeye and like.
Well, yeah. So I used to go to still my favorite insult is,
well, I'd make a monkey of you, but nature beat me to it.
so I love that. Boy, my Popeye needs. I haven't pulled him out of the closet in a while. He's dusty. But I need some work. But I absolutely love that. I was raised on Looney. That's my. I was. In fact, it's kind of it's a running gag. Although at this point it's probably annoying. But whenever I left the session, or I was finished a recording session,
yeah,
I always say,
well, goodbye. I don't think it hasn't been a little slice of heaven, because it hasn't.
Which is a classic Bugs Bunny line.
Oh,
so people always, all the engineers are like, yeah, goodbye. yeah, Bugs Bunny, sure.
Oh, come on.
No, trust me, it gets annoying after a while. Sometimes when Wayne Grayson, it's dueling Christopher Walken. Two of us just like, wow, how you doing? Hey, let's do some cartoons here. I love cartoons. Right.
Well, that's fantastic.
Whatever. Yeah, no, so it's just we're all a bunch of goose. What I'd love to do something. Maybe you can help get the fire started for this. I would love to see a reality show where they put a bunch of voice actors, like a bunch of guys who do cartoons and voiceovers, in a house together, like a Big Brother sort of thing.
Ooh.
And just let us. That would be so entertaining. Because when I go to an audition, and it's I record out of my house, I mostly do auditions from home. But when I do go into the city and I go to a big casting call and I see all the guys that I haven't seen, and we all all the guys, we all know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. It's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. It's just
a madhouse.
It is a madhouse. And you get these guys and girls, and put them in a house with cameras, it would be highly entertaining.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Right? So maybe this is what I need to start reality.
Who knows? It might happen.
Do the Big Brother VO show. Yeah. I hope I'm included. But yeah, no, I do love it, and the vast majority of the people as much fun as you would.
Yeah, I always hear stories about, like, especially from the 4Kids guys, how you guys may not have seen each other all the time when recording, but at like parties or whenever you guys got together, it was always a treat.
Oh yeah. And as I was telling you before, Mark Thompson, one of the most talented people I know. Mm-hmm. He's a big fan. We love superhero movies. We went to the premiere of the new Star Trek series. We were there the first night. He was in his Captain Kirk shirt. But we loved it. We absolutely loved it. I'm sorry I didn't get the end. Would have enjoyed that. That's honestly the one of the great joys I have in this world. Decade has saved me. My kids have grown up watching those movies. I am to be perfectly honest, I am a DC guy first and foremost. Mm-hmm. I love my league, but as far as the movies go, mine Marvel.
I feel the same way.
Right? Yeah. No, I I've been very disappointed by the DC movies. I feel like Zack Snyder doesn't really like superheroes, and guys who Kevin Feige, those guys, they love superheroes.
Oh, totally.
And I've only seen Endgame twice at this point, but that is just
it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and I watched it again recently for the second time, and as I had seen it in the movie theater with kids, I was trying to keep it together, but when I watched it at home, I cried like a baby.
Wow.
I just, probably 6 or 7 times. That movie is just great. Gets me every time.
Wow. I can't wait to see it again myself.
It really is. I mean, it's so wonderful. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm an actor is because I am very easily affected emotionally by stories. It's I do a lot. I do a lot of audiobooks now, and sometimes I do books that are not great and I don't particularly like, and they're not well written. But if something sad happens, it gets me. Somebody character dies, something happens that's emotionally volatile. I am very easily affected by it. So it's as an actor, it's a gift. As a human being, living in a world with a lot of cruelty and kindness, it's a challenge. But as an actor, it's
a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's got its perks.
Curse and a blessing. But there have been, there might have been moments where I got a little choked up in Shaman King, but trying to think if anything comes to mind. But yeah, no, I don't think there's probably not one Marvel movie that hasn't teared up a little bit. Because I'm, my kid, like I said, my kids, they love me, but they don't want to. Sometimes they're like, but it's definitely, and I like. Here's the thing. I love DC. I love Batman. I love Superman. And they made a Superman movie. Let me put it this way. If you make a Superman movie and I am not moved to tears by the destruction of Krypton, Kal-El being shot into space, then you have failed. Man of Steel didn't do it for me. That's, there have been such great cartoons, the Batman animated series.
Do you like Batman Beyond?
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh,
I love.
That's my favorite one.
I know, and I just love, Kevin Conroy, Alan Forever. He is the voice of Batman.
Mark Hamill, voice of Joker.
No question. In fact, I auditioned for an Alexa game, Batman Alexa game. Didn't get the part. I'm really disappointed because I thought I nailed it. They were looking for a Mark sound.
Oh man!
And I was like, oh please, I would love, because that's the voice I heard in my comics. He nailed that.
Wow!
Absolutely nailed that. And whenever I hear somebody doing it now, I'm just like, oh, come on, can't we just get Mark to do it?
It's just like, I know there's like a bunch of different Jokers and they all do their own thing, but it's like there's always that little bit in me that's like, couldn't it have been Mark? Just that one time.
Yeah, he really. Oh, speaking of, okay, not to give away any spoilers, but obviously Kevin and Mark were the voices in the Arkham games, and there was the end of one of the games had a very dramatic moment. And I probably the only time ever that a video game made me cry.
Was this the most recent Arkham game? Could you say
No, Arkham, not. It wasn't Arkham Knight.
No?
It wasn't Arkham Knight, which I actually playing again.
Haven't played it yet?
Achievements in this. No, I finished it. I finished it a while ago, but I'm such a dork. I was, they have the Xbox thing now. Like you get certain achievements, you get reward points, and if you get enough reward points, you can cash it in for credit.
Yeah.
Xbox credit. So I've been doing this a lot, and one of the latest ones, 3 achievements in Batman Arkham Knight. Oh yeah, so I'm working on taking down. But the end of, again, without giving anything, the end of Arkham City.
Ooh.
Which was pretty devastating to you.
Yeah, that got me pretty hard.
I was like, it's again, it really affected me. Really affected me. And then I don't know if you've had the chance to try this. You know, the Batman VR game.
I've heard about it, but I don't do I don't have any VR stuff. But go on. That didn't make me cry, but it kind of freaked me out. It really did great. It was the same. I believe it was about. Wait, is Batman VR just like an Arkham game in VR, right?
Not so much. It's a very short experience. It's a very short experience. Devastating. It's really I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill doing the voices, and I'm pretty sure they sort of followed the storyline.
Yeah.
But it's if you have a friend with a PS4 VR, or you get a chance, you must check it out. It really was very dark.
I'll have to keep that in mind. Yeah, definitely.
And also, I'm a, like I said, I am a big gamer. VR is that is my love. Time to it, and unfortunately, my son isn't quite old enough to join me, so I spend more time. I do have in my studio. I have a set up. I play a lot of games. Rift.
Mm-hmm.
I urge you, hey, when you get the chance, there are places that are doing where you can go and try VR now. So check it out.
Rift, you say? RIFT?
Yeah, the Oculus Rift.
Oh, the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, and there's a new the Rift S, this version, the old Rift. And the only thing is you need a powerful gaming computer. You need a processor to run it. But if you have the opportunity, check it out, because it's literally a game changer. And that Batman game is. Oh, that's right. There's a Spider-Man farm. It gives you vertigo. It's crazy. Yeah.
So I'd like to call. We were talking about comics, and I also wanted to talk about Ninja Turtles, because I know that you're a big comic guy, and you were in the show, the 2003 edition. So if you'd like to talk a bit about that, we could.
By all means. I was very sorry to say that when I got the 4 kids, they had already cast the Turtles. I would have loved to be one of those, but I did get a pretty important role in the series, and that is the Fugitive.
Yes.
Now, as you may know, the Fugitoid actually predates. There was a Peter Laird. I don't know if he did it with Eastman or not, but I think Peter Laird created the character himself and did a Fugitoid comic book. I remember it was on the wall at Forbidden Planet when I worked back 1989. And in fact, I remember when the Turtles came out, because I was a huge fan of Daredevil, of Frank Miller's Daredevil comics.
Uh-huh.
I think Eastman and Laird were as well. And one night, the way I hear it, one night they had been drinking, had an idea. They thought, hey, how about instead of Daredevil, we have Ninja Turtles, and they're teenagers and they love pizza. And instead of fighting the hand, they fight the foot. And they, that's the way I understand it, is that they were born of a night of drinking. And when the 2003 show was being done, they wanted to put the Fugitoid in it.
Uh-huh.
Peter Laird was like, he said, you have to send me all of the submissions, all of the auditions for the voice for the Fugitoid, because he's my baby and I'm gonna pick. And I was so pleased, because they told the director, that was such a big property for poor kids. They had, I think there were 2 directors. We had a director in the studio in New York, and then we were also working with a director. But we were working with a director from California who was flown in, and directed us. And they told me when I got the gig, when I got the part, they said, and Peter Laird was the one he had fun to say on. Was the one who picked you, and I was over the moon, because I was a big comic and just so happy. And then the other great thing was I got to work in the booth. That was one of the few shows where we actually worked together. So I was in the booth. Yeah, I was in the booth with the Turtles, with Wayne Grayson.
Greg Abbey, I believe, was one of them.
That's right, Greg Abbey. I think he was using the name Frank Frankson.
Frank Frankson. I love that
Frank
name.
Frankson, which I have to say, I was like, yeah, not the most well thought out. But hey, what are you going to do? And those guys are all friends. I actually, Greg and I worked together. We did one of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional semifinals.
Uh-huh.
We did a thing as what's his name? Siegfried von Schroeder, one of my favorite
Siegfried von Schroeder.
Oh, I cannot tell you how much I love this. Most villains are always the best.
Oh yeah. And
I had a lot of fun playing that character, because he was so. First of all, any character that gives it to Kaiba, I'm like, yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that gives Kaiba a hard time.
It's like one of the things to cross off the bucket list.
Exactly. So we got to, and I can't remember, Greg. I got to spend some time with him. Again, talk about a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a mensch. Greg Abbey, one of the nicest you'll ever meet. Now, his son played the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, so he would go out to the events with his son and became very friendly with all the people. And everybody there would agree. Nobody has anything bad to say about Greg Abbey. One of the nicest, sweetest guys you'll ever. So a real treat to work with all of them. And as I said, Wayne Grayson had us cracking up in the booth. He never. I just thinking back, I'm laughing. He would always go a little off color, but he would always go, "Hey, who's my ninja? You my ninja." Never failed to make me laugh. And as I said, the other thing, we put the two of us together, and it's like dueling Christopher Walken.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, how you doing? Yeah. So, and whenever we could, we would throw Walken into a cartoon. I think there was might have been in one of the first episodes of Shaman King. There was a guy who was just like, "Hey, how you doing?" One line.
No way.
I can't even remember what he said, but just we had to throw in a Walken.
Oh my god! Now I really gotta get on this show.
It really was. That was. we really thought, because it was so big in Japan, we thought this is going to be huge. Didn't take off.
It's a shame.
Was not the next Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah.
But I mean,
Shame.
at least you guys did have Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Ninja Turtles, so I mean, can't
Yes.
complain terribly much.
Yes. That was again real treat.
I just remember, like, going back to Shaman King once more. I remember Sean Schemmel's character, like the one that always hung out with Morty, and he was, like, on a motorcycle, and he had, like, a song that has been stuck in my head for the longest time where he just goes, he's like, driving on a motorcycle down the highway, and he's like, it's 6 a.m., and I'm on the open road. I got the wind in my hair and the bugs in my nose.
That's right. I remember that. I mean, again, it was. I couldn't stop laughing when I would have to do a line, and I would hear something like that going into doing my line and be like, okay, give me a minute here.
It goes like, my buddy Morty's at my side, so I'm going slow. Oh no!
That's right. I remember that. That was Rio was the best character. That crazy pompadour, that insane hair, and he really. I mean, Sean just nailed it. He is an extraordinary comic talent. He is an extraordinary comedic talent. His timing is impeccable, and
funny.
he would do impressions of everybody, all the people we work with. They would do, and one of these days they're not. It's going to be a while before we're able to get them out there, but there are outtakes. Oh my goodness! I don't know if you ever heard the from Thundercats years ago.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
You've heard the
those.
Thundercats outtakes.
So what is a Flash?
Yeah, someday you'll hear the outtakes from 4Kids, because those were a scream.
I cannot wait.
I'm sure people are holding on to them, making sure that they don't get leaked because we're in trouble. But just funniest.
Oh man,
funniest thing. And every time, the last time I went into 4Kids, I was like, "Let me some Sean outtakes." Yeah, let me some of the Yu-Gi-Oh outtakes, because they were just so fun. So, and you get a little loopy doing this, especially one of Viva Pinata.
Ooh.
That was a crazy.
Ooh.
That was a crazy one.
I'm glad you brought up Viva Pinata, because I'm probably the only guy that is ever gonna bring up like Viva Pinata when talking to somebody, because I remember some of your characters, like Pierre Caribo. So much rocking as a house. I do remember. I will say this. The character was so odd, and I was doing a French accent in a parrot voice, but somehow I would end up drifting into German. Oh yeah.
So I was going, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know where I'm from. To get back to Versailles. But that was, again, I as a gamer, and a cartoon fan, I was all over that. That reminds me, this is not the first game. The first game was tough. Was
it Party Animals?
No, Party Animals was the second one. That was the one that sort of like a competitive, like a party game.
Yeah, that's
like
the one that had all the voices.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one that I did. Pierre Perry.
That's so awesome.
And, yeah, I still have that for 360.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no, it's on Xbox Game Pass.
Really?
Yeah, it's like just because when they did the Xbox, I had to sign up for that because I'm a big PC.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great, man.
Console game.
I wanted to ask, like, for the staying on the topic of Viva Pinata, I also remember he played like a mouse, a really small mouse that was really, really loud. He was like a one-off character, but I just remember him because he was really, really loud.
Oh yeah, vaguely.
He was he was just really he was a really small mouse. He was just announcing like King Rorio, like a lion, like pinata.
Oh yeah,
It was just
yeah,
really loud.
yeah. Boy,
It was like
so
someone
many
asked
characters.
him. He was like, it's like, so do you really have to speak so loud? And he's like, sorry, force of habit. Gets louder. Is this better? No.
Yeah, that was a very. I remember I really enjoyed working on that show because they really had. There was a great sense of humor. There was a very Looney Tunes esque style humor that I appreciate.
Yeah, I hear like I remember I heard an interview with like voice actor David Brimmer, and he was talking about how Viva Pinata and how the outtakes and things like that were insane, and how
Yeah.
there were certain lines that they were like saying to themselves, and they were like, "Oh man, we can't say this." Like something
Yeah,
about
no.
like candy floss and like being thorough or something.
I don't remember that, but David, he was his boy. I wish I could get down there. I
He's
wish I had
really
his
good.
chops. Oh yeah, no, he's an extraordinarily talented actor. Also, stage combat.
I've heard about that stuff, and
Yeah.
he's like I heard that in that interview he went on about like stage combat and just
Yeah.
he's really really good at like just
Yeah, and
all the stuff that he does.
yeah,
Really
yeah,
cool.
he's most of us are rarely seen.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, well, I'm the opposite of a good child. I'm more often heard than seen. He's one of those guys who has done a lot of stage work. In fact, my brother, who's done a lot of Broadway,
Uh-huh.
a lot of stage work, they know each
Oh, that's cool.
other. But yeah, it's that I really miss. When Four Kids was in its heyday.
Uh-huh.
At one point, I was doing 3 or 4 shows. I'd go in for an afternoon and I'd just go from room to room. Do Turtles, Viva Pinata, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah,
And
I
they had a
miss
lot.
that.
4 Kids, Fox Block. That was
The Fox Box, then
Fox
just
Box,
Four
that's
Kids
right.
TV, and then they had the CW Four Kids, and then they had Toon's Eye, which was like on the other thing. I mean, like,
I did a couple of promos.
You did?
I think so. Yeah, and pretty sure I have. I didn't do my audition.
Oh
It's
wow.
all the fun because it ended up in a demo
Uh-huh.
of mine. I was like, oh, this is good stuff I had on my computer, but
Oh, that's awesome, man.
yeah,
It's like I'll tell you, like no matter how old I got, like when Toon's Eye was like on its last, like when I think Toon's Eye ended like 7 years ago, but I was like 17, if not 18, but I was still waking up every Saturday morning to watch just all that stuff because I just liked it, or it just made me laugh either ironically or unironically, but I loved all you guys' work and all the promos and stuff like that, and I was really sad to see it go when it finally went. It was like, oh man, that's the end of it.
yeah,
But that's
yeah.
awesome.
We were all sad. That's good.
But yeah, it's always really great, like going back to like the whole Pokemon thing. Whenever I see one of your names in the credits, it's like, hey, that guy's been around for a really long time, and he's on Pokemon or he's on this now. It's really really cool.
It means a lot, you guys. Fans out there who are paying attention and recognize our work. It means so much. When I went to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional Championships, I went to one out in Chicago a couple of years ago, and a guy came up to me. He had a stack of DVDs.
Wow.
Stuff that I hadn't seen in a long time. An old anime called Isn't Her Circumstances. Yeah, he had just stuff. I was like, wow, you know your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it means a lot. As I said, actors are psychic vampires. Whenever we get that, nobody applauds for us in the booth. The director will say good job, and we get a check, but we don't get to hear the audience until social media, we didn't get to hear what people really thought.
Yeah, I always try to
means a
make
lot.
it like a thing to if I can compliment one of you guys on something that came out, I'll always be like, "Hey, you did really great in that. It's really cool to see."
That's really, it is genuinely appreciated.
I wanted to ask there's not too many questions left, but we were talking about Ninja Turtles, but have you been keeping up like Ninja Turtles? For me, I wanted to say I only got into Ninja Turtles as of like 2014 actually, with like the
Oh, really?
2012 series, but the Ninja Turtles has been a part of like my like being for a long time because my older brothers had like the I still have like one of their old robes from like the 80s for like one of their old pajamas and things like that. Just we have the original 3 movies on tape, but I really only got started into like becoming a Ninja Turtle fanatic when the 2012 series came around, and then after that I was just hooked on everything. So when I heard you were the Fugitoid, which was like a really big arc in like the last series that came out, it was like, wow.
Oh,
Yeah. Like they went into space and they fought the Triceratons. Have you been watching? Do you watch the Ninja Turtles cartoons?
I have not. I do still watch cartoons, on my own, just to entertain myself. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the Turtles cartoon, probably because it wasn't something my son got into.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really see. It's a little bittersweet. I wouldn't want to, hearing whenever I hear somebody doing it, I'll go, hey, no, no, that's not. Come on, you didn't get this aspect of the character, and I'm not hypercritical, but I just, I hear voices, I hear characters in my head. As I mentioned before, Mark Hamill was the Joker. That's the voice I heard in my head when I read the comics as a kid.
Yeah.
That was absolutely the way I heard him in my head. So when I do a character that I know, character that I've read in the comic books, I have an idea of the character sound. So and although I will say this, when I auditioned for the Fugitoid for Kids, they were very clear. They said, "We're looking for a C-3PO."
Ooh.
And I said, "Oh, well, I can do that. That's not a problem at all." And there's actually a line where the line was over here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually a line of 3POs in Star Wars. You don't want to get me started on Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I am
so cool.
unlike most. Don't wait for it. Unlike most, I believe A New Hope, Star Wars, the first one, was the best of all of them.
Really?
I really, and every time I see it, The Empire Strikes Back was probably one of the greatest disappointments of my life.
What? Well,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not a
know.
Star Wars guy, but I just know that everyone goes on about The Empire Strikes
Yeah,
Back.
yeah, absolutely. I know. Kevin Smith and his whole thing of Empire is the best. Empire sucked. And I have a thing on Twitter. I have one of my only Twitter moment. Why Empire is when Star Wars jumped the shark.
Ooh.
Yeah, no. I hated Yoda. I hated it. It's fine. You want the 800-year-old Jedi Master to be a puppet? Do we have to use Miss Piggy? Do we have to use Fozzie Bear's voice? I mean, give me a little. I need a little help. Suspense. It wasn't that long ago that I watched Sesame Street, so please don't keep your Muppets out of my Star. And I still feel that way. I still feel it's like, yeah, I get it that Jim Henson was the guy for puppets, but did we have to the voice that he used for every Muppet?
I
So
always go to Grover when I hear Yoda.
Inflation time. Yeah, it's like, the monster at the end of the book is Yoda. No, it's crazy. Also, this is it. There's no character development for Yoda. In the beginning, he's insane. No, scary. No, he's what? He didn't. Oh, he was like, he was just like an imp. There was no. He didn't get any of this idea that this guy's 800 years old. Secrets to the universe. That was completely lost. And again, I said this before. Don't get me started. You can go to my Twitter page and see my 12 reasons why Empire is when Star Wars jumped the shark. And ever since then, I feel it's just gone downhill. So, for me, the Marvel movies have replaced Star Wars as the greatest series of films ever made.
Well, I gotta say, you are very brave to say that. I gotta respect you for that. If nothing,
bring on the hate mail. Bring on the hate mail.
Come what may.
This was. But yeah, I love modern mythology. I love Star Wars is part of modern mythology, but I think even more so now, Marvel superheroes, DC superheroes too, but the Marvel movies, man, they make me so happy.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they're not making me laugh, they're making me cry. Vice versa.
Exactly.
See, I just saw Spider-Man Far. I just saw I just tongue-tied, getting a little tongue-tied. I think I'm licking tongue right now, but I just rewatched the first 3, the Sam Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man movies. And
oh yeah.
I hadn't seen them in a long, long time, but I really liked them. Especially, I think the first one is probably my favorite because it just feels so raw. You know what I mean? No crazy special effects or they're used very sparingly. But I really like those movies, and I like the new ones too. I saw Far From Home before we saw all the before I saw the original trilogy again, and I really liked that too. But there's something about the Sam Raimi trilogy. There's just feels like the comic. It's got the cheesiness of the comic. It's got action, scary moments, things that the new ones don't have. And yeah, I really like Spider-Man.
I was a big fan of 2, Dr. Octopus 1.
Oh yeah.
3, I am with all the people that had a big problem with 3. In fact, I remember being in the movie theater, and there was a guy, I swear to God, he looked just like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. But as the credits were rolling, this guy walked out of the theater, shaking his head, and he muttered to himself, "Where's Spider-Man?" And I was like, he had the ponytail, he looked just like comic book guy from.
Goodness.
But when he said worst, I was like, yes, absolutely, worst Spider-Man ever.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
It's it was a mess.
I'm not a Venom fan. I again, very popular character, but not a fan of Venom. And Venom was kind of forced. Sam Raimi didn't want to put Venom in the movie.
Yeah,
it's just going to be about Sandman and Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
And the producer's like, no, kids love the Venom. You got to put Venom in there. Kids love the Venom. And he was like, then we're not going to have time to develop any of the characters. That is my biggest complaint with.
Yeah.
My biggest issue with movies these days, especially superhero movies, the idea, it started with Batman.
Yeah.
The second Batman movie came out, and they're like, yes, we have 2 villains. Develop one character. Don't put 2 characters in here, because then we won't get to find out who they are. That was my issue. And again, I liked Batman Begins to the end, and then I did not like, because I want Joker's story. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to see. One of my favorite times, The Killing Joke, Origin of the Joker. Mm-hmm. And in that movie, he was like, yeah, I don't know, my girlfriend, my dad, something happened, I don't know. No, there's a story about it. That's the reason why they did is what's really interesting. You know, the story, the Batman story, Superman story, the origin stories, those are really interesting. Just kind of make, the Joker, he's crazy. I'm like, no, it's not makeup, and there's a reason why he's crazy.
He had a bad day.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows what.
All it takes is one bad day to sanest.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Wars, again, you know, the same problem. In the last Star Wars movie, they kept introducing characters and killed them. We could figure it before we knew who they were. You know, and just keep adding more. You've already developed the new characters from the last movie. We don't know who Rey is. We don't. I can't remember the names. But I want to know. I want to know who this guy was. His name? Snoke. It's like, really? What? We've barely seen this guy. What? Give us develop characters. That's what I find interesting about these stories. Is why these characters do.
Yeah, what makes them tick?
What they are, exactly.
I did want to ask, we're getting near the end, but I wanted to ask if there's anything you're working on right now, anything you'd like to plug and promote, any more Pokemon stuff in the pipeline, for instance.
Thank you. I just finished recording an audio called Djinn Tamer Starter. And that's Djinn as in Genie, J-I-N. And it's a book that is basically it's a tribute. It takes place in a world where instead of Pokemon, they have creatures, Djinn, and instead of having there's types of Pokemon at this point, they only have 4 elements: Djinn, air, fire, and water. Pokemon, water, fire defeats. It's a lit RPG, so reference existing things, pretty much, like I said, tribute to Pokemon. Audiobook will be out, I think, if you want to check my Twitter page, I'm tweeting about that. But it's an exciting new series. There's going to be more, hopefully, and I'm very pleased to be doing something kind of like Pokemon. Same sort of thing. There are the Djinn tamers and trainers. Tamers raise the Djinn, have them. They compete. I will say this: it's not a mature title by any stretch, but there are, if people aren't okay with curse words, nothing serious. A couple of smattering of 4-letter words. It's about a 17-year-old kid. It was a lot of fun. Like Pokemon, enjoy audiobooks. Please take a listen. It should be up on Audible in the next month or so.
Awesome. Well, I managed to get most of that, and I will put all this in the description in the video when I put it up. So just in case.
That's great. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And well, let's see. I think that's pretty much it. But this was so much fun to get to talk to you, because I came in just thinking I was just gonna ask some questions about some things, but there was just so much more that I didn't even know, and it was so much fun just to get to talk to you. It's like I wouldn't be object to doing this again or whatever.
Anytime you want, please, come up with more questions. If I'm not recording, I will happily do another interview. This is a ton of fun for me. This is stuff that I talk to my friends about. So, thank you very much.
Yeah. Tell your friends about it. Say, you never guess what I just did this afternoon.
Oh, I definitely will. I think I've done some interviews. And people were surprised when I find out that I'm just as much of a fan as you guys are. So please, I do appreciate it, and I'm very grateful for the attention and for your appreciation.
No problems. So once again, thank you for coming on. Do you have any last bits of like advice or any parting words that you want to give to the audience?
Be kind. That's all. Everybody, just be kind.
Well, thanks again, and thank you for watching, everybody. And I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you listened to, feel free to give this video a like, share it with a friend, subscribe, check out my social media pages, my Patreon page, all that stuff I go on about, you know the drill. And a big thank you to Oliver Wyman for agreeing to have the interview with me in the first place. I can't wait to chat with you again, but what about you guys? I'd love to do more interviews, but if me and Ollie were to talk again about other stuff, would you be interested? Let me know in the comments below. Now that all the scheduled Pokemon videos have come to a close this year, I just want to say thanks again, and that I will see you all next time. Later.